Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys football. We are heading to the independent teams as BYU plays Notre Dame in Las Vegas in Allegiant Stadium. Two of the best independent teams in the country squaring off. I had this game highlighted at the beginning of the season. I think it's going to be a great game. Notre Dame, obviously not the start to the season that they wanted. That being said, you saw them kind of figure out their offense against UNC. Although, how much does that say? Because I think you could stick 11 of me's out there against that UNC defense, and I could figure out some ways to put up some points. Excited to get into this one. Before we do, though, I just wanted to say thank you guys for all the support you guys have shown the channel. Again, it's a blast talking ball with you guys in the comment section. We are inside of 30 subscribers away from 2,000. That means a lot to us. The support that you guys have shown means a lot to us. So if you do like the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Let's get into talking some ball. And I want to start with this Notre Dame team. I think there's a couple trends you really like. One, Notre Dame is coming off a bye, getting some of the guys feeling 100%, going into one of your biggest games that you have on your schedule. Drew Pine gets another week to kind of prepare and work as that QB1 in the offense. Again, it's very hard for a quarterback to take QB2 reps all season and then be thrusted into that quarterback one role. I mean, Drew Pine's he's a good ball player. He just needs to figure it out. And you see what he's done since he's taken over. He hasn't been as bad as people think or as bad as the narrative has been. I mean, take a look at his stats. He's completing 100% of his balls for 6 touchdowns and 1 interception. I believe that 1 interception coming in when he was thrusted into action against Marshall, where that game was really already going downhill. I think he was kind of forcing it. Once he's gone back, he played okay against Cal, and then you saw him have his best game of the season against UNC, where he went for 24-34 for 289 yards, 3 touchdowns. You also saw the run game get going a little bit. As teammate, I think I said his name right, ran for 134 yards. Chris Tyree, 80 yards. Logan Diggs, 50 yards, all being very efficient on the ground. And then the biggest story for Notre Dame is, what are the wide receivers that are making you scared as a defense? I mean, you have Michael Mayer, who is the best tight end in the country, maybe the second best behind Brock Bowers. He goes for 7 catches, 88 yards, and a touchdown. But the biggest thing we were talking about heading into this season for Notre Dame, we were talking about this in the summer, is who are the wide receivers that you're scared about? Lorenzo Styles kind of get it going. He was the guy that we had circled. He had 5 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown. And then some of the running backs getting it going out of the backfield. Logan Diggs, Chris Tyree both adding some catches as well. I think that's the big story is Notre Dame, they can't run the ball as efficiently as I think many people thought they were going to. And so the quarterback and the wide receivers are going to have to find some explosive plays. And outside of Michael Mayer, those explosive plays really haven't happened. If Notre Dame can find a receiver, that connection with Drew Pine, and I'm thinking it's going to be Lorenzo Styles, that can give them some explosive plays, help them get some chunk plays. I like the direction where this offense is going. Tommy Rees has been awfully conservative with his play calling. You saw that against Ohio State, where I really think they were just trying to slow the game down, muck it up a little bit, and give them a chance in the fourth quarter to win, which it kind of worked. But against teams like BYU, against teams like Marshall, against teams like UNC, you're going to need to score points. They haven't really been able to do that, but we did see them against UNC make it happen. Now, on the other side of the ball, Notre Dame has a very, very good defense. They've been a defensive-minded team. You take a look at what they've done throughout the year, only allowing 24 points per game, and they've played some pretty good offense. UNC is a very good offense. Ohio State's a very good offense. Even Cal just put up, I think, 39 against Arizona. So they've played some teams that can move the ball. They've been very stingy in both the passing game and the run game. You have a bunch of guys on Notre Dame that you feel really good about being my favorite defender for Notre Dame. How well can BYU move the ball against a very good Notre Dame defense? Jaron Hall has been extremely sharp to start the season, completing 70% of his balls for 1,400 yards, 12 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. This BYU team has only turned the ball over on average a half a time per game. I mean, they take care of the football. And under Coach Sataki, that is what BYU does. They play good in these big games. They show up in the big moments. It's a that seems to play their best ball when the lights are brightest. And Jaron Hall, I think, does not get enough credit for being one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I mean, yeah, I don't think he's a Zach Wilson talent guy, but he's an awfully talented quarterback that can really move the ball for BYU. They've averaged 293 yards passing per game. And I think the addition of Christopher Brooks kind of has given them some joy. I mean, you lose Tyler Algier, but Brooks is a very, very similar running back to Algier. Bigger bodied, likes to get that one cut, get downhill, and he's averaged 6 yards per carry. He's been pretty good. It's behind a very good BYU offensive line. One of the big matchups you're looking at is that Notre Dame defensive line versus a very, very good BYU offensive line. I think that's where this game will be determined. If Notre Dame and BYU can both limit those turnovers, I think this is going to be a big game or a good game. It's going to be a good game regardless. Let's get to the picks a little bit. This line to me seemed a little weird, and I'm not itching to bet this game because I do think Notre Dame is slowly starting to figure out their offense with the new quarterback. My lean here would be BYU to keep this one close within a field goal and take BYU plus 3.5. I think BYU has, if you look at the eyeball test, BYU's been the better team. They haven't looked as sharp as of late, but I think that's a fair amount of BYU's been injured. They've had some wide receivers go down. After that Oregon loss, I think they started looking ahead to the next schedule where they're playing Notre Dame, Arkansas back-to-back. But if you look at as a whole, I think that Baylor win for BYU is a little bit more impressive than anything Notre Dame has done so far. That being said, you kind of get the vibe that this Notre Dame team is a sleeping giant. Like, they were ranked in the top 10 before the season started. I didn't think they were ever a top 10 team, but I do think they're probably a top 20 team. BYU probably a top 20 team too. Notre Dame probably is the more talented football team, so I'm not itching to bet against Notre Dame in this spot. But I do think that Notre Dame really struggles to score points, and I'm not completely sold that they figured out their offense just because they were able to put up 45 points against UNC, which is an atrocious defense. So I do think this game will be close. I think this game will be decided in the 20s. I could see like a 28-24 game. I could see a 21-24 game. I think it's going to be relatively close. I'm not itching to bet this one. That being said, my lean would be BYU plus 3.5, just because I do think this is close. I think Jaren Hall will be a guy that will show up when it matters. And another thing to watch is having some of those receivers back for Notre Dame, or for BYU, excuse me. I mean, they went a while without Puka Nacua, who's kind of their explosive playmaker down the field. Romney hasn't been healthy. Even Chase Roberts, who's kind of emerged as a guy that they can look to with Nacua and Romney not healthy, he's also banged up. So how healthy is BYU at that wide receiver spot? Because, again, Notre Dame's a hard team to move the ball down consistently on. But if you hit those chunk plays, you hit those explosive plays, I do think BYU can score some points. Then the question is, can Notre Dame score the points on a BYU defense that I really like? I mean, there is not a star player for this BYU team, but you look up and down this BYU depth chart, and like, it is really, really good team. Max Tooley, Ben Bywater. I really like Keenan Pili and what we've seen from him. I mean, they fly around, they tackle in space. I was really impressed with the defense against Baylor. Baylor was able to find some points in the second half, but for the majority of that game, BYU was able to shut Baylor down on the offensive side of the football. So this game is more to me like a pick 'em, so there might be some more value just on BYU plus 150, BYU to cover 3.5, or BYU to come within 3.5 points. I think that's where this game gets determined. I don't see either team scoring more than 30 points here. And so that spread with the hook at the field goal for BYU, I tend to lean to, but I probably won't be betting this game just because I do have a bad feeling that Notre Dame might show up for this game, kind of turn around their season. That'll do it from the boys. Again, this I think will be a very fun game. I will definitely have eyeballs on this game, as it's two teams that I really think are bona fide top 20 teams in the country. We will talk to you guys later. Again, appreciate you guys checking us out as usual, and we'll talk to y'all later. I already said that. Peace.